for you today? Good. Why is it hot back there? Is it hot? So I don't know, like, should we open the doors? Khaled, it is very hot here. Right. So as I said, we are going to complete discussing Better My Heart, and like after that to talk a little bit about the midterm exam. Before before approaching the poem again, as it is the case, we have to listen to one or two reports. Yes, please. Just come here.
Life is tough. It doesn't matter who you are or what you do. We all have to face many difficulties and stressful situations. Life can leave us feeling stressed, worried, angry, confused, and frustrated. The way we feel affects everything in our life. When we feel bad, everything seems worse than it is. Till now, this is around 24 reports. The time is passed too fast, and our exam will be in the next Thursday. And as usual, Dr. Habib starts to ask us about our reports, and some students read these creative reports. And after that, he asks about responses. Then the students start to read their creative responses. Thank you.
Thank you. You have, like, when you listed some abstract nouns, you say angry, it should be anger, it should be confusion. I think this is what I observed. When you listed some abstract nouns, yes, do you want to redeem yourself?
صباح الخير. Good morning, sir. I don't know if you heard about the Freedom Riders. There is something happening currently in Jerusalem. In Jerusalem, there are many roads that Israelis forbid Palestinians to go through. So there are a few international solidarity figures, people that are coming in order to make a statement. They called themselves the Freedom Riders in order to draw a parallel between them or the Israeli apartheid system with what happened with the black Americans in the 60s. Because the black Americans used to be segregated on buses, and they called themselves once the Freedom Riders, and they made a statement that there should be equality between people. So now they're doing something similar. They're going to be boarding Israeli buses on roads today and tomorrow. So I wanted to write something about this, sort of.
Okay.
Better that apartheid system. Freedom Riders, on it we go. From the blacks in the 60s to Palestinian Jerusalem, peacefully will force, break, and blow their disguised racist terrorism. Only Israelis in those buses and roads, they say, but our international freedom soldiers with us that blatant apartheid they refuse. Imprison me all you like, but in our land, rights and hearts will always be free.
Thank you. I think you made use of the... Yeah, clap for her. It's good to make use of the poem in encoding your experience and your, respect for those who came in solidarity with the Palestinians. But last time, I think most of you enjoyed discussing the poem, even though it was difficult. Did you or you didn't? Was it easy or difficult? We agreed, but you enjoyed the wit of the paradoxes, the wit of the conceit, or of the conceits. And I think, let us make a quick revision about what we did last time. I think last time we looked at the main paradoxes in the poem, and we listed them like this. batter my heart in order to mend it. So this is seemingly it is contradictory. However, when we think of a guilty person supplicating supplicating God for redemption, for forgiveness, we understand like this, or we understand that this could be, something acceptable or rational. Knock me down also, that I may rise, overthrow me, knock me down. This is a call, or this is again a prayer for infliction. You know what I mean, infliction? It is sometimes some people ask God to inflict them, in order like, to be closer to God, to test their belief, to show how they are faithful. It happens. Infliction, I was reading, or we were teaching a text in American Lit, the narrative of Mary Rowlandson, and she suffered when she was taken captive, according to her, and at the end of the narrative she was, this is what I looked for, infliction, like suffering, disasters, catastrophes, because she thought that infliction made her close to her Creator, that infliction made her very repentant and, like to redeem herself. Again, we saw the paradox in imprison me to make me free, and we explicated it. How come like imprisonment can be freedom? Also, the paradox is like enthrall me, never chase except you ravish me, and we criticize this because this is something impolite. It's not like expected to be like in a text like this. We also talked about the conceit in I like a usurped town. How come? Like this is very contradictory. Now it's a simile, as you see, but there is no similarity between the vehicle and the tenor. Like they're not similar. The conceit, you might have read, if you have read in your reader, the conceit is a striking parallelism between two dissimilar things. So what are the two dissimilar things here? As you see, we have I and the town, and the usurped town. As we said, like I, the guilty person, is occupied by Satan, exactly like a city which is usurped, by an occupier. So this is like the conceit. And this conceit runs through the poem, but it assumes different shape. Like later this conceit, it assumes the image of a couple being like joined together in unholy marriage bond. That's why he was asking, divorce me. So it is like a sustained metaphor. Like when we understand its aptness, we start to say, my God. It is very witty. Very witty. And we said there is another conceit. What is the other conceit? Yes? Yes. But is captived. What is captived? The soul. The soul is like a captive person. Where is it captive? In the body. You know? So, how this, how is the soul given freedom if here God knocks him down, imprison him, or makes him dead, then he will be free again. It is very intellectual. Okay. And, the last couplet, this is, as you see, it is a sonnet. It is written in a sonnet form. Now, I think after explicating these paradoxes and the similes, the conceits, it becomes easy. Let's see now, after reading this, what is the theme of this poem? What is the theme of this poem? What is the theme of this poem? What is the possible theme of this poem? It could be about what? Huh? Huh? Christian impasse? Why? I like this, Christian impasse. Impact. No, I thought impasse. What do you mean by Christian impact? Mm-hmm. Yeah, but if you say it is Christian impact, this is very general. What are you talking about? So here, it is the need for redemption. What does it mean, the need for redemption? Is it only a need for redemption because you say it is a need for redemption? What does it mean, a need for redemption? Yes? I want you to explain the words. I don't want you to throw words without explaining them. So, yes, it is about the need, but the strong need for redemption. Why? How? Yes? Yes, he feels guilty. He feels guilty. And when somebody feels guilty, the need for redemption, this is for good people, emerges. And this need is very compelling need. It is very strong need. It is very strong because he feels he is too much guilty, too much sinful. And I think if you look at the tone of the poem, you see how the verbs, the music, the strong words, you feel his appeal, his supplication, which is very strong, is justified because he feels like he's too much a sinful man. I want to go back to the poem and, to look at it, better my heart, three-person God. Now, the verb, if you look at the verb, it is imperative. But here, as you see, better my heart, it is a kind of supplication. It's a kind of prayer. But we don't expect a poet to address God in this way. See? But this is exactly a metaphysical characteristic. When they talk to God, they talk in a very casual and informal manner. Imprison, better my heart, three-person God, for you. Three-person, we talk about this is something central to the Christian creed. They believed in the Trinity, so this is a reference to the Trinity itself. And look at the number 3, the treble blow is there all over the poem, like Trinity. So if you look at the patterns of three, you might find them in what? Rise, stand, overthrow, break, blow, burn. You see? So it is like 3, 3, 3. You know? So the pattern of Trinity is being referred to in the poem as a whole. It's very tricky. As yet, but not breathe, shine, and seek to mend. Look here. We said it is a strong need. It is a strong need. Why? Because if you look here, he's asking God to violently shatter his heart, violently destroy him. And we said, if you are asking, if you are seeking for such violent action, it means that the sin is deeply rooted in you. And this is what is happening in the poem. This has to do with the Catholic belief of, the poet. And it is very strange because John Donne, as we said, was forced to convert, to switch to Protestantism, but he remained faithful to his creed. He remained faithful. He remained loyal to his creed. And this poem here, as you see, he's not what is the way of salvation to him? What is the way of salvation? As we said, for a Protestant, the way of salvation is just good deeds. You have to be nice. You have to be good. You have to be... It is like in Protestantism, free will is given space. But in Catholicism, the only way of salvation is the body. It is, the way Jesus Christ, according, to them, saved all the people by his body, by being tortured on the cross. So here, as a Catholic, and this is what is called substantiation. It's it is the body which secures for you salvation. That I may rise and stand, overthrow and bend. Your force to break, blow, burn. Look here. Look at the alliteration. Your force, boo, boo, to break, to blow, burn, and make me new. This is he wants to be new. How can he, what does he mean by new? Yeah, a new person without sin. And we said last time, here, the idea of original sin is there in the background. So once he is burned, once he is broken, he will be a new person. I like an usurped town to another due. So there is a conflict here. Do you see a conflict? What is the conflict? I like an usurped town to another due. Labor to admit you, but owe to no end. We have a conflict here. What is the conflict? We have a running conflict.
He tries to free himself from this usurped town. He can't because Satan is...
Yes, is possessing, is stronger. So now here, as he say, to another due, and labor to admit you. Labor, my deeds are directed to you. But it is in vain. So the conflict is, he was trying to be loyal, obedient to God, but Satan was forbidding him all the time. And that was the conflict. That's why he asked God to intervene in order to release, free, emancipate him from Satan. Reason your viceroy in me should defend. Reason is your viceroy. It's here, we said it's a metaphor. And we said the conceit starts by analogy. Reason, which is here, It's a metonymy of the soul. It is the it is the representative of God in man. It is captive. It is captive in the human flower. What is the human flower? The body itself. The body, the human flower. This is like I'm just talking about a poem for Andrew Marvell, I think. No, for Henry Vaughan. It's like he was referring to the human flower. Reason your viceroy in me should defend, but is captive and proves weak or untrue. If you remember, when we talk about the characteristics of metaphysical poetry, we said their poetry is argumentative. Like, look here, if you look, but, take, do this, it is like argument. He's arguing. But is captive and proves weak or untrue. Yet dearly, like, look here, but, yet. These are signs of argumentation. It's very important, like when we are discussing a poem like this, and this could be in the final exam, discuss this poem with reference to its metaphysical, or in the light of the metaphysical characteristics of poetry, or the characteristics of metaphysical poetry. See what I mean? Yeah. So you have to talk about the conceits, you have to talk about the paradoxes, you have to talk about the language, the argument, you have to talk about the abrupt beginnings, because when we are talking about metaphysical poetry, when we read the poem, we see that the poem starts in a very surprising manner. Batter my heart, three-person God. This is very surprising. This is very abrupt. It is unexpected from a poet to start saying, batter my heart, three-person God. So this is what we call abrupt beginning. Yet dearly I love you, and would be loved vain, but I'm betrothed into your enemy. Look here, it is the conceit itself, but it is assuming another image. So we are moving imagery here. Again, it is a little bit homely, it is a little bit domestic. But it is unusual of John Donne, who was always referring in his images to emergent sciences like astronomy, astrology, botany. Here, he's talking about, homely images. I don't know why. It could be because, like, the conflict is too much. He's referring to himself as a sinner. Yet dearly I love you. Look here. This is the casual manner. This is the informal manner we talk about. This is how they talk to God. Yet dearly I love you, and would be loved in vain, but I'm betrothed into your enemy. Betrothed, engaged. We are moving from the image of occupation to an image of being married or engaged to Satan. Somebody, a loathsome, a hateful person. A person you cannot put up with. Imagine when you are like brought, in this relation with a person you are not in love with. You just want, why, divorce me. I don't want this. So be careful. Divorce me. Untie. Or break. Like, look here, the three. Divorce me, untie, or break. Look at the verbs. Three. The patterns of the three is repeated all over. Divorce me, untie, or break that not again. Untie, or break. It's a simple language. Divorce, untie, but the idea is very subtle. It's very subtle, very witty. Why? Because it's a paradox. When you are asking God to divorce you, it means like divorce here is seen as something good, because you are going to get rid of, Satan. Divorce me, untie, or break that not again. That not again, break it. Take me to you, imprison me. Yes, it's so now you understand what is a paradox easily. Take me to you, imprison me, for I, except you enthrall me, never shall be free, nor ever chaste, except you ravish me. Now, the last line is irksome, disturbing. However, like, it should be understood within, the Christian context of, divinity like Mary and Jesus, how Jesus came when God like blew his spirit in Mary. So here, this ravishing is seen like as an act of chastity, because Mary was made chaste when God blew his spirit in her. She was, and even in Quran, she was a chaste woman, a purified woman, but like he's using it, and this like again a characteristic of the metaphysical poetry in general, and a characteristic of John Donne in particular. They were using erotic images. These are erotic images. When I say erotic, they have to do with obscene images. Now, the form of the poem. What is the form of the poem? It is a sonnet. And what kind of sonnet it is? Is it a Shakespearean sonnet? It is what? So A, B, A, do A, B, A, C, D, E. What kind of, it doesn't sound to be, it is Petrarchan. It is Petrarchan. And like as we saw at the beginning of the course, the Petrarchan sonnet was used. Yeah. Yes, it has two parts. But here the part, like, it has the octave and the system. Okay? And this is, what is he doing here and what is he doing here? You see here, he's supplicating. He admits that he's a sinner. And here, he's supplicating further. But, in the couplet, he concludes the whole argument. He summarizes the whole argument by saying, except you enthrall me, never shall be free, or never chaste except you ravish me. It is a conclusion. But it's very interesting, because one student told me yesterday, like, look here, I like this sonnet because it is a mixture between Italian, the form, and the English, Like, because the sistet is similar to the sistet of Shakespeare. Shakespeare when he was variating this, and this is similar to Petrarch or like Sir Thomas Wyatt. I think he was using very traditional way, because this is a love poem between man and God. See, so he was using that, and in fact he was in this poem also, and in other poems, satirizing courtly lovers. John Donne didn't like courtly lovers. They thought they were crazy. He thought they were not like good people. Yes. I think the meter, again, it is iambic pentameter. But what happens, if you look at the verb here, blow, rise, stand, overthrow, like sometimes you have the he variates, and you have like here, burn. So he variates 3 stresses, you know, imprison, divorce me, take me to you, imprison me, and you know, divorce me, untie, break. So he is variating with the rhythm just to suit. It is a very noisy poem, and like as we said at the beginning, the sentiment of the poem cannot be felt unless you read this poem aloud. So you might have observed me reading it aloud, and you can listen to, on the YouTube you find some people reading it. So it starts by being like this: bare my heart, 3-person God, like somebody who's gasping, who's like in a real crisis situation, who's aspiring for redemption. And then at the end, take me to you, imprison me, for I, except you enthrall me, never shall be free, nor ever chaste, except you ravish me. So it should go like this, because this is the only way. But this is, as you see, it is very Catholic, isn't it? You know, I wish we had time to study like George Herbert, and to see how George Herbert ended his poem not like this. He ended his poem by showing that man should have this submission to God, this obedience. He was rebelling, and at the end of in a poem called The Caller, he heard like somebody calling because he was rebelling, and he said, I don't want to be a priest anymore, it's a prison to me. And you like at the end of the poem, so he heard, methought I heard somebody calling, child, and I replied, my Lord. It's an act of obedience. Okay, I want you to be obedient. I want you to have obedience and to study hard. And if you have any question now, you can ask before we switch off and talk about the midterm exam. Do you have any question? Okay.